Hello, I'm Ross Tayler, your host and guide for Sacred Sundays, a space to slow down, tune in, and return to what's sacred within and around you. I'm also a life coach for empaths and sensitive souls, walking alongside those who are ready to come home to who they actually are. These conversations are part of fulfilling that purpose, a collective exploration of what it means to live in connection with the sacred. Some weeks you'll hear a sound-based offering to open the space. Other times we'll simply begin in conversation. However it unfolds, this is an invitation into presence, connection, and the beauty of the unseen. If these conversations find you, please subscribe, rate, and share so others can find their way here. Pour a cup of tea, settle in, and let's begin. Today on Sacred Sundays, our guest is Alex Vu. Alex is a holistic healing practitioner based in Nanaimo, BC. She traded the busy streets of Hanoi and Vancouver for mountain views, ocean air, and the occasional deer sighting. Though she'll tell you the mermaids were the real selling point. Her practice weaves together Reiki, mindfulness, yoga, sound healing, and Buddhist philosophy. Tools she's drawn to because they don't just explain life, they help you actually live it. Freedom has been a theme for Alex since she was young, and her understanding of it has deepened over time. Today, her work centers on community wellness, empowerment, and helping people find genuine purpose. She's a night owl, a passionate hiker, and someone who doesn't take bird sounds or mountain air for granted. And she's genuinely excited about where we are headed, as more of us start asking bigger questions and taking our well-being seriously. Welcome, Alex.
Hi, Ross. Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to have our chat today.
You're welcome. I'm happy to have this conversation with you as well. And Alex is actually going to start by guiding us through a Reiki meditation. So I'm just going to pass it over to you, Alex.
Yes. So I don't usually plan ahead things like this. So we'll see what would be the energy that would bringing in for our meditation. And also this meditation will have Reiki, which is a cosmic healing energy. Maybe a lot of us already know what Reiki is. And so it is a timeless meditation. We can always return to this and sit with it whenever we need a recharge. So here I have a oracle deck, one of the deck about animal. We'll flip a few decks to see what theme or what spirit animals are coming in with us this time. So we got sea turtle and we got frog. And then in our deck here, the sea turtle is just grazing underneath the ocean floor with the colorful corals and other tiny turtles and turtle eggs, and everything's around here. So there's a cycle that we can see. And the turtle, when we think of turtle, I think we all have different keywords when we talk about turtle medicine. These decks say that it's about finding our element as well. So figure out some alignment when we ground, when we center, when we move with steadiness. And the frog here is jumping up from the lake. The lake surface is frozen. And when it hops up, it latches onto a branch, and behind it there is the sun. And the keyword here is evolve into your next becoming. I think there's an idea for us here. However, we would like to connect with sea turtle medicine and frog medicine. So I invite us to be comfortable wherever we are, whichever posture we choose to go into the meditation. If we choose to lie down, then make the space cozy. If we choose to sit, maybe have our back resting on a wall or on a chair. And then we'll return to our breath. Observe our breath either through your nose or your mouth. And as we follow the breath in and in, see where our body is moving along with the breath. Now we bring our awareness all the way to our base body where it connects with the surface underneath. And let the body just relax a little bit more here. Breathe into the sole of our feet, all the way to our ankles. And then we send our breath to nourish the calves, the shins, and we can imagine the inner layers, like our muscles, our soft tissues, or all the fluids, the nerves, the tiny energy channels, they all return to the most balanced state. Soften the knees, and all the sides of your thighs. Allow your legs to become heavier and heavier. And then we send our breath into the hips. Imagine with every exhale, we are letting go of any tension here. Every inhale, we're bringing in nourishing energy into our system. And now we breathe into the whole back body. Let our back body expand and soften a little bit more here. From your tailbone all the way to your shoulders. Go in one more layer. Our spine, our internal organs, all the way to the top layer. And let your chest, let your belly move naturally with the breath. Let your breath flow down your arms from the top of the arms, the shoulders, down and down through the fingertips. And along the way, you can go as slow as you need. Let your arms become heavier and heavier. Just keep releasing. Breathe into your neck, all the inner layers. Let your breath expand through the back of your head, the sides of your head, and the crown of your head. And now we relax all the muscles on our face. See if you can invite the body to just be. And now we follow the breath inward into our heart center, right in between our ribs. There is our inner home. And see what we feel as we are hanging out here. What do we see? Sometimes it is just an idea of colors, of textures. Sometimes we see clearly what we have invited here to set a cozy home. We'll take a few moments to just hang out without any comments, any analysis. And then we ask ourselves, what is it that I need the most to continue my path? And you can repeat this to yourself a few times to reinforce the energy, the frequency. Notice, where do you feel it right now? Send your breath there. Let the energy flow. Whenever you are ready to return, and we can return to the breath first. Maybe it is still the natural breath, or we can take a bit more of a deeper, more expansive breath. Perhaps breathing out through the mouth. Maybe bringing some movements back to the body as gentle as you need. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. I really enjoyed that. So I'd love to start with just asking you, what is most alive for you right now in your work? What are you noticing in your offerings and the clients you're working with? What is it that you're noticing as themes? What would you like to share about that?
Oh, totally. I think we do move with certain themes, like the collective energy. Sometimes there would be people who would come in working with the throat, and it can be very subconscious. We wouldn't, sometimes it didn't come up in the healing intentions, but as we work together, then we can feel the throat energy starting to release and relax into it. And even myself, when we are moving through those space and time, I myself working with those energies too. And sometimes it'll be about rooting. Sometimes it's about working with the little inner kids. Recently, interestingly, actually, I wrote in a newsletter 2 days ago. When I'm not lazy, then I'm pretty on top of the game with newsletter. I try to hash out, yeah, twice a month, but it sometimes have to take commitment and yeah, bit of less procrastination. I have a strong procrastination that I always work with personally. Um, let's see. The idea has been about Ho'oponopono,
Mm,
and I need to say that I am not really a qualified facilitator of Ho'oponopono. So I could only share from my intuition and what I read about so far. But last month, in one of the sound baths, the theme was about forgiveness, about bringing in grace. And
mm,
I still didn't know what we would talk about or share about for that sound bath. I don't usually plan ahead. I just let whatever the energy will guide us collectively. Then it will show up on the day of. Then I got the information about Ho'oponopono. I'm like, oh, how would I go about that? But then I decided to give it a try. And in the gathering, we were invited to sit with that energy and that four short prayers that I think a lot of us are familiar with. I'm sorry, forgive me, thank you, I'm grateful. And we were contemplating on that. And after the gathering, in different conversations, at least three of my friends who also are practitioners, like energy healing practitioners, they talk about how recently they have been practicing Ho'oponopono, or even one of them facilitated a workshop about Ho'oponopono. I was like, wow, something must be really going on here. And so when I did more readings into Ho'oponopono, the practice itself, traditionally a lot of us might have known of Ho'oponopono when it's about bringing in harmony and reconciliation, maybe with conflicts between family members or in the community, or asking for grace and blessings when there are natural disasters that can affect the life of people, because that would be reconciliation with the gods as well. Beyond that, I learned that it's also very awesome for work with generational karmic imprints, or would say
mm,
patterns. Let's put it that way. And the patterns can show up in all levels and forms. When we think of generational passing down to us, it could be from the family, direct family members that we grow up with, or it could be something genetic in our ancestral line. It could be from our own self, from previous lives, if we someone who believe in reincarnation.
mm,
And so when we work with those, because these patterns can show up as certain body discomfort, ailments, tendencies, habituations, yeah, all that jazz. So we ask for forgiveness by bringing in the prayers to reconcile with all the past, previous things that we might have done. that create harm, and the vibration of grace and forgiveness and that opening of the heart bring in healing that way. So, and it is quite profound when
Mm-hmm.
my friend shared with me the long prayers, not just the short prayers, the 4 sentences that a lot of us are familiar with. The person who brought the modern Ho'oponopono practice to the world now, a kahuna, a female kahuna called Morna. Morna, she had long prayers as well. And when I listened to the long prayers in her original voice, it lands differently. It's very profound and grounded and humble at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a long answer to your questions, I guess. It has been working with internal imprints
Mm-hmm.
without blaming, without pushing away. It's just sitting with them and asking for understanding, asking for reconciliation.
I'm familiar with the practice of
Yeah.
those 4 statements, and I think it's probably about 12 years or more that I first worked with it. And it is a powerful way of moving energy within us. And at one point, I came across a teacher by the name of Hugh Len, which he's a Hawaiian fellow, and he's got some really interesting stories about how he works with it specifically, or had worked with it, because I believe he's passed. And one of the stories is that he worked in a psychiatric hospital, and he really saw this practice as a way of taking responsibility. Like it's shadow work, right? It's like the reflection we're seeing outside of us is created by us, and taking responsibility for that. So he used to refer to it as a process of cleaning his internal system and his internal landscape so that outside of him would change. And so in this psychiatric hospital, there was all sorts of challenges and problems when he started working there. And he cleaned himself to clear and change the movie that he was witnessing in that hospital. And his goal was that people healed and left the hospital. And apparently that's exactly what happened.
Yes, I read about him too, and I agree with what you say just now. It's about taking responsibility rather than the other way around, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he was the one who brought the practice from Morna, the kahuna, into the world and
Mm-hmm.
made it more well known through his studies.
Mm-hmm. And it's a radical process to really take responsibility in that way. And yet it's also so empowering to be able to realize, oh, we can do that just on our end. And it makes me think about something I saw on your website that caught my attention. And it says, you said, until it hurts somewhere. So in terms of what brings people to healing, we're going along and doing our everyday, and then it's when it hurts somewhere that we reach out for help. What would you like to say about that?
I think that something a little bit more in our nature is things that stand out more than we put our focus in those,
Mm,
right? And then when things are all up and running and functional, we don't really look at them. For example, breathing. I
mm,
usually in yoga practice, and I would emphasize that wow, our breathing is so important. It's the only indication that we are still alive. But when we breathe things normally, like our lungs work, the air quality is fine, all of that is up and running, we don't really notice our breath until we have sinus or something, lung issues, or we go into somewhere with air pollution. Then we complain, or then we're like, oh, I wish. Then the polarities come in, the contrast of like when we feel pain, when we feel that I need healing, I need recovery from this. It's a great motivation for that conscious decision. Do I want to do something about it? Maybe, maybe I don't. It doesn't really matter what we choose, but we own that decision now that we have awareness. So I think every day, if every day is peaceful, if every day we are healthy, we might not even value health and peace
mm.
as much, consider compared to when we experience the other side.
the body is trying to get our attention too when there's pain. It's trying to tell us something and communicate something. And you're right. It's like we don't appreciate things until we see the contrast of that thing. So love and fear, like there's a lot of polarity in our experiences, and pain is one of those.
Mm-hmm.
W- One of the things you also mention is the importance of purpose in our lives. What would you like to say about purpose? It's something that I've explored over the years as well. And my experience is that it seems like such a big word, and yet it might be a lot simpler than any of us realize. So I'm curious about your take on purpose.
Yeah, I agree too. It does sound big. It sounds a little bit cliche too, right? Search for life purpose. I do think that it comes with phase in life too.
Mm,
When we still enjoying life, every day is okay. I think that it does come with phase in life. When we live our life normal, when we have nothing to complain about, when we show up to our school, our work, show up for our family, and just like that, every day is the same, and we are content with that, then that can be our purpose in life too, to bring in that steadiness, that stability into life, and it is shared naturally, just us being ourselves, doing the thing we do. Purpose, everyone have different spectrum and definition to it. Some people, the purpose is just, I want to be peaceful. I want to be a happy person. Some people will be like, I want to change my family and make my family peaceful and happy people. Some people is like, oh, I want to share wisdom and compassion to the whole world. So the scale is very much unique and personal, and the vision about life, right? Because I think we, even two people so close to each other, we still live two different worlds because we have different views, different definition about every single thing. Coffee, Hawaii, cars, and because of that, our worlds are different. And the
mhm,
definition of life purpose is different, but when I think about, there must be a reason we are human. When around us there are trees, there are fishes, there are, dogs and cats. Why aren't we a dog? Why aren't we a tree? Why are we human with the capacity that we can do, and how to really appreciate this human rebirth with the capacity and with the potentials that we can tap into to bring in positive impacts to not just ourselves, but how to share that too, because when we can share, that means we have more than just enough, that
mhm,
we also aren't lacking in, what we have, the surplus to share.
mhm,
And yeah, that also leads into community too, right? We always are inter-influencing each other. When we look at certain people around us or on the internet, then our minds start to have analysis. Oh, I like that. Oh, I don't like that. Oh, I resonate with that person. No, that doesn't sit right with me. What is the problem here, right? The
mm,
problem, it maybe it's not the problem, but it is our own internal projection.
mhm.
Because if you and me sit together, Ross, and you say, Alex, the tea is really good here. I'm like, tea is terrible. Tea is just being tea. It is me who have an issue with that, right?
Mhm,
So so that is something internally. We look
mhm,
inward. If we find that life is boring, life is lacking, if we complain about the rain, the snow, if we complain about the sun or people just crossing us today, we ourselves internally aren't yet happy. And
mhm,
so the outer world, they cannot make us happy if we don't do it ourselves. So having a life purpose, something doesn't have to be far out. Sometimes it is just about how to be at peace with life, how to
mhm,
be in a relationship with life as is without like
Hmm.
what if or like certain way, this way, that way.
I think you touched on so many aspects of how we view purpose, how we experience purpose. And what's coming up for me is just that I think about the example of the Walmart greeter who loves their job and loves what they do and shows up with passion every day and makes a difference to everybody that comes through the door. I mean, that can be purpose. We might not view it as that, but it absolutely can be purposeful. And it's a choice as much as it is anything else. And I think it's a way of being more than it is a way of doing, which I think is an important distinction to consider.
Yes.
Yeah.
But sometimes we have certain social concepts about what success means, right? What does that
Mhm.
equate to? Like you need 3 villas plus 1 vacation home and 2 cars, for example.
Mhm.
But sometimes it's very intrinsic, very internal. It's a
Absolutely.
state of being, like you say.
Yeah. So, Alex, I'm also curious about your journey to the work that you share in the world. So, what has informed you and what has informed your way of working with people that is important for listeners to know? Because I think we can always relate to each other's stories. And so, what would you like to share about your story?
Yeah, my story, let's see. So I have been doing this full time for about 5 years. And that's when I moved to Nanaimo from Vancouver. I grew up in Vietnam and I moved to Vancouver for university. And after university, I worked there for about a few years in corporate. And through that whole time, when I was younger, when I was in Vietnam, when I went to university here, when I worked, I was still searching for what is it that would be purposeful in my life? What is it that I'm here for? And I couldn't find that.
Mm.
So my life was quite peaceful and it's normal. Yeah, I had good friends, I had good family, I travel occasionally, I read what I like to read, and I worked with really lovely folks too. But something inward was still lacking because I couldn't find that fulfillment until it just clicked. I didn't know how, but one day I woke up and I figured out my life purpose. I think at that time I wasn't too spiritual too. At that time, I would say I always was been still fascinated with stories like spirits, like UFO, like something mythical or even past life regression hypnotherapy, and I couldn't pinpoint and match them into oh, I really liked metaphysics. So when that crossed my mind, when I woke up and I realized, wow, I realized what is it that I like to do in a long-term vision that I would like to have a meditation retreat for people who are super stressed out in corporate work, for example, or just need a time to return and reconnect with life, reconnect with themselves, with nature, then that can be a place for them. And also, it sounds like a great retirement idea for myself too. And then I dialed back from there. What would be the first step? What would be the second step? Slowly, I mapped my way out of my life at that time. I started out with yoga training, and from there, it led me to Reiki. And when I realized Vancouver probably is a bit too busy now, like I really love Vancouver, but I think the energy for me to feel most at peace is with nature.
Mm.
I enjoy hiking, I enjoy camping, and just be with nature a lot. Because growing up and living in Vancouver too, it's always been in big city. It's not too impressive, and like we talked before, the contrast will make a
Mhm.
difference, right? When we grow up with certain thing, we take it too much for granted. Now we want something new. So it was for me. I want something with somewhere with way more nature and way less people.
Mhm.
And luckily, I got to land here in Vancouver Island. I hopped in with both feet. Once I gain confidence in my practice because I was practicing yoga and Reiki in Vancouver already. And I didn't think things too far. I'm just like, okay, let's go. Let's go figure out. Usually it's still like that. I still don't plan my life ahead. You can tell. If you play chess with me, you always can win. Yeah. I don't have strategy. I don't have any game. So when I moved here, actually, maybe I wouldn't recommend my style because my learning curve was really sharp.
Mm,
I really enjoy the journey, but it's not always rainbow and roses. It is about the attitude. When I met with a lot of new challenges and obstacles moving here without having been to Nanaimo before,
mm,
right? Learning everything from scratch.
mhm,
How to fix a house, how to caulk a crack, how to, you know, fix the car, learn everything. But I didn't complain at all. For me, it's just like, oh, this is something new. That's terrible. How do I find help? And I enjoy it because I know I chose it. And when I hopped into self-employment with both feet, transition directly from corporate, I guess that's a sharp learning curve too. What's fulfilling has been my connection with people. I show up as myself. I need nothing from them. And then they come to me and they also need nothing from me. So the connection I feel is really equal and very respectful and grounded that way, I
mm,
would say. And
mhm,
when people show up to my studio, for example, for meditation, for Reiki, for sound healing, one of my intention is to empower people and give people the tools so that they can take care of themselves and they don't need to hang out with me for too long.
mm,
So empowerment is is great, right? Because when we can
mhm,
share that and we know that, oh, healing start with ourselves. We have that
mhm,
ability, we have that capacity, and then we are independent in that way. At the same
mhm.
time, we still interconnect.
It's really clear to me that you live the practices that you share. You live this way of being in the moment, and your spirit and your energy really comes across as you practicing what it is that you're sharing with others, which is really beautiful. And I really love the energy of that. And I want to take a little bit of a surprising left turn because
Yeah.
one of the things you said in your bio was that you're a night owl. And this is something that I think is
Ah,
interesting because I've met a lot of people over the years that are also night owls. And so I wonder what you would say about that because I have my own thoughts about it. And I used to be a night owl years ago, but not so much now. What would you like to say about being a night owl?
yeah. First, also, I kind of think maybe you are a morning riser
Yeah.
because I see the time slots that you give us. And then I'm saying, how about that? How about we start first thing in the morning? And here I am, 8 a.m. We sit together. I woke up at 6:30 today. It felt great. I had
Mm,
an idea that wow, today will be a long day and productive day. And I was
mm,
very pumped about that. For me, though, I am someone who are not good with scheduling and planning. Actually, a side note, I haven't even worked with calendar and planner until this year, literally
mm,
from January. Before that, my life had been quite sporadic and I just leave it to the ancestors to guide me. Let's see. I'm more productive at night. I can stay up late until 1, 2 a.m. Have no problem with that. And I find that at nighttime I would not be distracted. Everything's quiet and dark and only my space light up. What I mean is distraction even outside the window, right?
mhm,
And so I had all of that time to do the things that I like to do. Lately, as of recent year, has been like being committed to sit down and do my daily Buddhist practice. Because as someone who have a chronic procrastination. I don't have a good relationship with habit habits in general. And it wasn't a struggle. It wasn't a running away or denial at all. I just don't do things, and that's it. It's very natural for me. But at night, I do feel that I'm more inspired and focused in that sense. In the morning, when all the people around me are awake too, and I would have certain commitments or hangouts with people, right? So I don't have
Mhm.
the time for myself. Time for
Mhm.
myself is at the nighttime.
Mhm.
So for so long, I had been studying and working right 9 to 5, and now being self-employed. A lot of time I refer to this as my retirement era. I choose my own work time. Instead of working 9 to 5, now I work 24/7. But it's just that
Mhm.
no commitments, no meetings, no sessions in the morning. I
Sure.
can sleep until kingdom comes and then
Yeah.
do my work.
You
How about
reflected
you?
well, you reflected exactly what I thought you would, which is about the quiet. Myself too. I appreciate quiet as well. And like for example, even spring break, I noticed moving through Nanaimo that there wasn't as many cars at certain times of the day. Like, in the morning, especially like when the university is filling up, it's quite busy around where I live. And I really appreciated the lack of traffic around the university. It's just I remember during COVID, people were inside and
Mhm.
everything was quieter. Like I appreciated that. And so what I see and observe in those that call themselves night owls is it's exactly that. The world is quieter. People are sleeping. So there's an energetic quiet as much as there is an overall quiet.
Mm.
And there's an opportunity to connect with yourself in a different way because of that quiet. And I think this is really true for those of us that are sensitive and empathic and live and experience the world, because honestly the world is very noisy. And you mentioned going from Vancouver to Nanaimo and being near nature. Like I can relate to that as well. When I grew
Mm.
up in Vancouver the
Yeah.
majority of my life, and last year I went to a wedding in Vancouver and I was trying to navigate driving I was like, wow, what happened? Like I used to be able to navigate driving through Vancouver with my eyes closed, and now it's like it is a chore because there's bike lanes and
Mm.
busyness and so much happening. It's so much stimulation. So nighttime is the opposite of all of that. And it's nurturing and nourishing. I'm glad that you reflected that because I think you might have helped to normalize that for someone that might be judging themselves for not being able to
Yeah.
handle the everyday 9 to 5 like you were describing. So it's fascinating to me.
Mm. Yeah, we have a lot of social pressure and norms, right? And then we would
Mhm.
question ourselves, oh my God, is it even healthy?
Mhm.
Yeah, people would think I don't have a good routine, for example, things like that. But I think we operate differently. We are
Mhm.
built a little bit differently, our inner elements. And so certain time in the day might work differently with us, how we
Sure.
navigate with that collective energy.
My previous partner,
Yeah.
she had a practice of being very creative at night. And
Mm.
what I saw was that even though there was a physical tiredness of the body, there was so much gained from being able to move that creative life force and a connection to something greater during those times, because the quieter it is, the more there's that connection to spirit as well. And so there was something to
Oh.
be gained from that creative energy being able to express itself, even though there was a tiredness for the body in some cases. That's my observation.
Could be. According to studies, our brains might not enjoy waking up that late,
Mhm.
but I'm not sure. I think we will know the most internally. And
Mhm.
social norms too, if we talk about that, right? Think about the work we choose to do.
Sure.
I'm not just talking about our work here, Ross and me, but all of us who are committed to our passion or transitioning a job from just being a job to a career, and the career equates to the purpose in life too, and not feeling guilty about that.
Mhm.
looking at social norms, standards, or even relaxing. Sometime in the community gatherings that I get to facilitate, sometimes I would ask the question, does anyone feel guilty for relaxing for an hour just now? And sometimes we have hands raised up, right?
Mhm.
We think that relaxing or resting is not productive.
Mhm.
And sometimes we don't dare to do that. So then we are
Mhm.
always on the go. Go,
Yeah.
go, 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 go. And at the end of the day, what's left in our cup, right?
Mhm. Yeah, there's a theme that I notice comes up the most with podcast guests and in conversation is this idea of slowing down. And
Mm-hmm.
it's something that I have to work with constantly because I have the energy to go, go, go. And yet when we move too quickly, we miss so much. There's so many things that we're not tuning into. And part of that is like slowing down enough to rest, to relax. I remember the first time I went to a meditation and the teacher was like, "Oh, here, have some pillows and have a blanket." And I was like, "Oh no, it's okay. I'm fine." And I learned over the years that those comforts and those props, like they're really helpful and it's supportive. And yet to receive that nurturing and that support can be challenging. At least it was for me.
It depends on the meditation, I would say. If we talk about meditation, because a lot of us would have our own definition about meditation too, right?
Hmm.
Some of us expect a really good nap. Some of us who are overachievers, we think, no, I'm going to accomplish something here at the end
Right.
of the practice. And so we come into that with different props, different energy, different intention. Because of that, even though we go through the same practice together, the outcome will be different for each of us,
Hmm.
isn't it? As long as
Exactly.
we set intention and we
Yeah.
don't do it just for doing it.
Hmm. And and that brings me to I think probably the last question. When I think of the enlightened teachers that we're trying to emulate, or perhaps we're perceiving that we should be emulating, what's your view on reality being human in this world that we're living in compared to the Buddha sitting under the tree? It seems to me that there's a completely different lifestyle and a completely different experience that we're trying to work with. And so what would you say about that? Like what is the everyday Buddhist compared to Buddha?
Mm. I do think that it is the teachings that we are relating to, not the people.
Mm,
And that applies across all kinds of practice. Sometimes we rely too much on the practitioners, the teachers, and we need to follow the most famous, the most influential people. However, look deeply, it is the teachings that they share that will create impact on us. So as long as they are genuine with their offering, they are authentic with what they share without attachments, and the goal is to empower ourselves to find our inner teachers, then that is the teaching that can bring positive impact to us, and the people
mhm,
are the supportive roles. So I personally, for me, I'm more inspired by Buddhism because of the philosophy, even
mhm,
though I also are committed to the rituals and the chants and the prayers. Those are methods to transform my monkey brain as well and tap into energies of the divinity. Every
mhm,
gods, every deities, they are not just in their forms, not just in their mantra, but ultimately at their nature, it is an energy that we are tapping into. We are connecting with Buddha because there's something about him that we relate to. We hang out with each other because there's something about you that I relate to lots. And same with all kinds of deity and dogs and cats and trees. So in our daily life, we as long as we are inspired to do things, right? Like things about say meditation, back to the previous chat. A lot of us say, oh, I would like to meditate, but it's too hard. Then don't do it. You do it only when you like really crave it. Just like, oh my God, I have to meditate, otherwise I will go bunker. Then you do it. Otherwise, it
Hmm.
will be like, oh, it's a nice to have. It's not a necessity. Buddha, right? His enlightenment philosophy is very intrinsic too. Work with a teacher. You work with qualified teachers who can offer teachings and gain nothing from it other than seeing their students, seeing their communities grow strong and empowered. And ultimately is as a practitioner, we find our inner teacher. It is ourself too. We simultaneously are in our human form and simultaneously are in our soul, in our divinity. And we move across that. We are shape shifting every day. Sometimes we feel really small, sometimes we feel lost. Oh, I don't know how to navigate with this. And then if we are aware of that, we catch ourselves. We can say, no, now I choose to be a big grounded cedar tree. Then right away, our mind change, our attitude change. So sometimes we feel I'm just a human. That's totally okay too. If it doesn't serve us at all in certain situation, you say I am my divine being. I return to my sacred embodiment. Something like that. I mean, we come up with our own affirmation
Sure.
as long as we switch our mind rather than diminishing ourselves, rather than doubting ourselves. Empower us because it costs nothing.
Hmm.
Trust us a little bit more, right?
Hmm. Thank you for that. I appreciate all that you said in that answer. And I think there's lots in there that someone might be able to sit with and contemplate. And I appreciate
Mhm.
that perspective. So I always like to close with the same question. And so I'll ask you the same. What is one simple way someone could connect with the sacred today?
One simple way. I am. I think the word I am applies to anything. When you notice that you are fearful, when you are anxious, when you are in doubt, don't push that away. I think the moment we acknowledge those emotions, they cannot control us as much as the
Mm-hmm.
moment before. So I am
Mm-hmm.
doubt, I am anxiety, I am fear. At the same time, we also are everything else on that spectrum. So I am trust, I am empowerment, I am peace. That too. So we are everything. Our light, our shadow, and I am is strong in that acceptance and embracing ourselves for because every day we show up with our best energy already. We're doing our best every day.
Mm-hmm.
So why being our harshest critic? It's if it's not serving us or anyone around us.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that.
My pleasure.
And thank you for taking the time to have this conversation and sharing yourself with our listeners. I'll share your website information in the show notes. And I really enjoyed this conversation and the depth that you brought to it. And I look forward to our listeners being able to experience what you shared.
Yeah, me too. I hope to connect with your community. And thank you for motivating me to wake up early today too. I myself, I chose the time slot, but it is because you offered it. So I'm like, yes, let's go for it.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you, Ross.
Thank you for joining us on Sacred Sundays. I hope something in today's offering spoke to your spirit, stirred something true, or simply gave you a moment to breathe. If this conversation resonated, please subscribe, rate, or share. It truly helps this work reach the people who are meant to find it. If you'd like to step inside my world a little further, I host a free live practice 3 mornings a week called Start With You. Just 20 minutes on Zoom to return to your own energy. Everything you need can be found at the link in the show notes. Until next time, may your day be slow and sacred.